Hello and welcome to the Dragon Plus live stream once again, where we discuss more of the content heading into each issue of Dragon Plus, our online magazine, but also the design, the development, and the running of your D&D game content. With us this week, we have two distinguished guests, Emmy Tanji, Senior Graphic Designer, and Adam Lee, graphic designer, but so much more. Also, story writer and creative guru as well.
Game designer.
Yes.
World building.
Interpretive dancer.
Yes.
Oh, my stars.
My stars.
We were rehearsing our titles beforehand as well. We saw both of you last week when we were playing a little bit of Betrayal at Baldur's Gate. So again, thank you for joining us once again.
Yeah, part 2.
So this issue of, this episode of Dragon Plus, there's a few things we wanted to highlight and talk about, some of the things that will be appearing in the next issue of Dragon Plus, issue 16, which will be available at the end of October. For our theme for issue 16, we decided to do a bit of a storytelling theme, and of course, being near the end of October, we also wanted to lean a bit into some of our monsters as well.
Sweet.
Yes.
Monsters.
But before we get started with that, Emmy, you were part of the game last week, but we didn't really do a deep dive into who you are and your role here at Wizards of the Coast.
You don't have to go too deep. It's not much.
Well, but I have my questions written, so I have to ask. No, I did want to ask, as a graphic designer, how you got your start in the industry before you came over to Wizards of the Coast specifically.
In the industry, well, I went to school, and that's a good thing to do because you learn a lot. I went to school specifically for graphic design. At the Art Institute of Seattle, and it was really nice. The classes were small, and if you pushed yourself, the teachers helped you, and I had, thankfully, a very supportive graduating class, and everybody was just very cool and, very encouraging, so I graduated with a very nice group of people. And then I went to work at a toy distributor company because I did really want to actually get into toys and packaging and all that fun stuff, collectible stuff, so I was kind of making my way there. And then I worked with the photographer there, actually was married to someone at Wizards of the Coast. And she said, hey, there's an opening, how about you come with me and we go give it a try? And I gave it a try, and it's kind of been the best thing for the last 10 years.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So when you were at school, were you already working on sort of, fantasy monsters along those lines, or did that come later when you were here?
No, I've always liked monsters and kind of more the fantasy genre, but I had no idea that I could get a job doing, what I do. I just, you don't know. You think you got to either go into advertising or something, but I'm just the luckiest that I get to work on stuff that we make.
So I suppose I would ask for folks that might potentially be interested in working in Wizards of the Coast or a similar gaming industry, any advice from the graphic design standpoint?
For D&D specifically, we do marketing, or I do a lot of marketing and the book layout. So, knowing your programs, the Adobe system very well, and kind of being familiar with all that is important. I think being familiar with the product helps. Otherwise, once you start, working around the people that we get to work around, you get familiar with it, and it's real easy, and you just learn to enjoy what you do and get excited with everybody, learn to kind of just listen to the people who know, what they're talking about, trust them, trust your team members.
That is one of us at the table.
But
Adam probably knows what he's talking about.
Oh, man, yeah, I wish.
Got a good nugget.
I'm just winging it all.
Smart cookie.
Yeah, there's no manual to my life. I'm just like,
Yeah, but I think holding on to that enthusiasm, and
yeah,
because like Adam and the rest of the team, they're gonna be building, off of existing content, and new stuff. So kind of latching on to what they're excited about and thinking how you can translate it into, marketing and other, ways to kind of get the product visualized. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's one of the cool things that when we're collaborating is there is this kind of neat cross-pollination between ideas that you have that come from a toy side of your background, and then you're bringing it into sort of the D&D monsters and the world. And so these ideas start to spawn new ideas for products and for licensing. And so having that diverse background or that eclectic background from somewhere else really kind of helps when you join the team, and you bring your own thing to it. So I'm always going to Emmy for ideas. I'm like, can we do this, Emmy? Can we do that?
So we did want to show a bit of Emmy's work as well. Pelham is our man behind the controls at the moment, and if we've got a couple of the holiday cards, for folks that have been to the Dungeons & Dragons website in recent years or on social media, of course, for the D&D Facebook page, you might have seen some of these appear during our recent holidays. These are all creations of Emmy Tanji.
So awesome.
This is always one of my favorites. I think we put this out during the Storm King's Thunder campaign.
The Giants.
So that's our...
This was a thing that when I was designing the world guide, I came up with the idea of the giant game called Stuff.
Yes.
Which was stuff as much stuff as you could in your mouth.
This is the game that Hill Giants play.
Yeah. And so here's an example of exactly what Emmy was talking about, where she takes stuff and creates her own vision of it.
It's a little friendlier version of stuff.
Yeah, it wasn't like it was Hoffman's, wasn't it?
Halflings.
And the Hill Giants costume is just decided a mimic was eating his head.
He's supposed to be a mimic.
Okay.
Or she's supposed to be a mimic, but that's about the extent of Hill Giant's budget. So
No, I love this one, and we were trying to determine before we went to air where we came up with the idea of having Emmy do the holiday cards, and I think it was just one of those things that we thought would be a good idea, and we ran with it, and so we really loved putting them out there. This one is a bit of an Easter egg card. This was the Mother's Day card that we were meant to put out this year, and in a fit of keeping the Tomb of Annihilation campaign somewhat under wraps, we had an idea that we would go with the Tomb of Horrors theme, but then we didn't want to tip our hand too much about Tomb of Annihilation coming out. So we'll file off the 2017. Do we even have it? We don't even have it on there. I should have said nothing and then say this is going to be released next year.
But hey, if you watch this episode, then you get to know the secret stuff.
The secret card. And this one, I believe, Shauna came up with our you auntie line for the Valentine's Day card for this year's best.
We try to get to dad joke level on a lot of these. So.
Oh, man, there's nothing better than a dad joke. Sean Wood, he had one in the team meeting this week, which I thought was fantastic.
That was really good.
Well, I wasn't there for that.
Oh.
I missed the glory.
Well, in honor of Sean, it was how do you make a decapus happy? Or what do you give a decapus to make him happy?
Oh, what?
Tentacles.
Oh.
I know, I had to kind of think about that.
Okay.
I didn't say it was good, but it was definitely a dad joke.
It was. Oh my gosh, Sean.
So,
Sean.
We'll talk more about Sean in a minute because we're going to steer into Extra Life in
that's right,
a bit. But last week we also played a round of Betrayal at Baldur's Gate. Emmy, you were also instrumental in the graphic design for a lot of the components of the game itself. So if we could jump into some of the showing, I think it's the Catacomb. These are the back of the event, the Omen, and the item cards that I believe you...
It was just a quick refresh.
Refreshed?
We wanted to keep it similar to the existing Betrayal games, but kind of freshen it up a little bit.
And we also have, I believe, the Catacomb building, and here we go. And this is the back of the location cards. And what I love about these is you have a similar design for each of the 3 levels of the game, but it's super clear what card pile you're drawing from and where it configures itself within the city that you're building.
Mm-hmm. And it matches the little doors on the other side.
Yeah.
So you know
which
exit you're going to.
Yes. If you've seen the game, the tiles have the colored doors leading to what tile you should draw. It's gold, red, or blue. So
yeah, I mean that's one of the things that just me looking at the graphic design that Emmy does on the outside. It's that there's so much information that's packed into this thing. It's like not only is it telling you what color it is, because Emmy in some ways is doing user interface design where it's like showing you which things go to what. And, while it seems like this, this really cool, interesting graphic look, but then there's also game information that she's putting in there, which is super awesome. So just want to point that out.
Oh, thank you, Adam.
Yeah, a lot of thought goes into that. Yeah.
So a little taste of Emmy Tanji's work. Always a benefit to have it on screen as well because I can scratch my nose feverishly off camera. But now that
Pelham
it's
gives
back
us
on.
the scratch nose cue, and we all go to it.
One of my greatest accomplishments, I feel, is getting Pelham in front of the camera for D&D
That was
News.
awesome, man.
So we'll have him on again. And Shauna is also my get. She's
your
get
stretch goal?
She's my stretch goal.
Yeah.
So
Oh, man.
as well.
Yeah.
In addition to working together, you both will be playing in Extra Life in Sean Wood's game coming up. So I did want to, again, just make a few mentions of the Dungeons & Dragons Extra Life event. It is November 3rd and November 4th. November 3rd, it will be broadcast from Gamehole Con in Madison, Wisconsin. Mike Merles will be running the first game of the evening. I believe after that game wraps, we'll be switching over to D&D Play taking place at Hasbro. Jim Sorrell will be running games for, I want to say, up to 48 hours, so we'll be cutting back and forth to him along the way. He went for the long marathon.
Wow.
November 4th, then, we will be running more games, both live-streamed with our partners. Encounter Roleplay will be running a game. Trump SC, Heroes Graveyard, will be running a game actually the week before. But we'll also have 2 games here at Wizards of the Coast. Lauren Urban will be Dungeon Master for one game, the first game of the day, and Sean Wood will be Dungeon Master for the second game. And then we'll move back to Gamehole Con where Chris Perkins will be running a game session. The Perkins.
So cool.
So I really wanted to say thank you so much for everyone who has contributed to Extra Life already. The donation page at the moment is almost at 20,000. We're knocking on the door of 20,000. So thank you so much. I'll have I'll be asking for some help from the folks in the chat here momentarily.
Sweet.
I mentioned this to Adam, but not to Amy.
Oh no!
Yeah. Oh no! It puts Adam under the spotlight.
Hey, did you guys see Sean's playbill for his game?
We have the playbill for Sean's game. If we can put up, there it is right
So
now.
good.
Look at that, man.
He did that.
So Sean Wood will be running the Lost Kenku, his playbill. So 2 to 5 p.m. Pacific. On as with all of our Extra Life coverage, it will be on twitch.tv/DND. There's another inside story. For the longest time, we were running on the WotC_DND channel, and we were trying to figure out, well, who owns just DND? And then maybe we could make a play for that. And it turned out I did.
Oh,
I bought it. I picked it up years ago and just forgot it. I had it.
Made $1 million off of that.
I know. Did you pay yourself?
I tried to parlay that for at least a box of donuts, and I got nothing. Nothing out of that. But some of the Extra Life awards we have already unlocked have included the Tomb of Annihilation art gallery, which is up on the website and the Extra Life webpage now, and 2 PDF pages from Zanna Thar's Guide to Everything. I think we have a bit of, speaking of Emmy Tanji's art, some of the Extra Life art that Emmy created for this year as well. So this is the D&D Extra Life icon. And who are we, what are we looking at here?
It's a happy Green Devil mask. It's kid-friendly.
Not the grumpy one.
Yeah, nothing bad goes on in there.
Yeah.
Just, good times and good lessons and friendship. So, yeah, it's all good stuff.
Oh.
And this is not only for D&D, you also created the logo for the Magic Extra Life.
Yes, and they too have dinosaurs, little feathery ones in their ongoing. Not campaign, it's their what do they consider?
Block, yes.
and their blocks. So they've got some vampire pirates, actually, I believe. They've got some dinosaurs, got some, I think, mer people or something.
Merfolk.
There's all kinds of drama happening. But yes, they will also be running a D&D game, I believe. I'm not too sure on the time, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I don't want to get the date wrong, but I'm going to say it anyways and possibly get it wrong. But I believe Magic will be running their Extra Life Day on October 13th. They are going to be playing Magic, of course. They will also be running a Magic-themed game of Dungeons & Dragons that I want to say Chris Tulloch put together.
Yeah. That's awesome, man.
We'll get him on the live stream as well to talk about a bit of the D&D Magic crossover that's been taking place with the Plane Shift articles.
Richard and Wooders and I, we worked on Magic for a while, and we always used to take the sets that we were working on, and as we were developing and world building it, we would actually workshop it by playing D&D in the setting. So we did Innistrad D&D and all that kind of stuff. So it was a lot of fun. So,
nice.
Yeah, Magic sets make great D&D worlds.
Mm-hmm.
There's a great YouTube video I've seen where if you're just looking for inspiration for creating your game or a scenario or what have you, they just open up a pack of Magic cards and kind of go through them and see what ideas they kick up.
It's all there.
So again, for Extra Life, thank you so much for donating. And it's not just us running games as well. Part of the Extra Life process is you can sign up to run your own game, and folks have, and they have already raised a not insignificant amount of money for their games. So for everyone participating and donating, thank you very, very much.
For sure.
Speaking of which, though, and this is where I would ask for some help in the chat. And yes, for the chat questions coming up for how do we participate in Extra Life, we do have our webpage up on the D&D website to take you right to the D&D Extra Life page as well. So just go to the D&D website and look for information. We'll put up some links later on in chat as well. But as part of making your portal, your page in Extra Life, your participant page in Extra Life, folks such as Emmy, I'm looking at hers on my screen right now, you can solicit donations to, as a player, help build your character. Donate, $10 to choose my character's name, or race, or class, or personality traits, or in-game rewards for granting potions of healing or inspiration, things that will help get that player further in the game as well. So Emmys has a fantastic page right here, looking at $50 for Critical Role on a hit, or rare magic items to grant your character, things along those nature. Greg Tito has a page for $2,000. He will drink a gallon of milk.
What?
In an hour.
We get whole milk.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I didn't realize this was one of those cinnamon challenges that I was not
There's
aware of.
A dark part of me that actually wants to donate that much money just to put him through the agony, I guess it would be. I don't know if it's agony, disgust, horror.
I'm told it can't be done, but it's one of those.
I don't
like
know
in one gulp?
No, within an hour. The challenge being, can you drink a gallon of milk
in
an
hour? He will barf like a fool.
There's something about milk where it just does not progress further down the digestive system.
Because
I don't know.
Yeah. Some evil person out there.
My hat's off for putting that.
But it's for charity.
It is for charity.
It's for charity.
Milk for charity.
Tito,
yes.
Props to you, my friend.
Fortunately for he's playing in a different game than you two are. So if he does attempt this and
I hope
fail,
you have a bucket.
That's
Yeah.
exact.
Big bucket.
Lauren Urban, the dungeon master on chat right now, has mentioned that she will be bringing a bucket just for this.
Yeah,
Thank you,
yeah,
Lauren.
for sure. Because somebody's gonna donate $1,000 to see that. I'm sure.
So, Adam, I know you're working on your profile page for Extra Life.
Yes.
And the challenge I wanted to throw out to folks watching, and again, thank you for everyone for watching and participating in the chat, is if there are suggestions for Adam Lee's donation rewards, please put them in the chat as we go along.
I've been struggling with it. Like, I played around with some ideas and I ran them by Sean because everything has to go by the dungeon master to make sure that it's legit in this game. And the ones I came up with, Sean was like, "No way, man, that's just not." Because I was like, "I want like $1,500. My character can summon a Tarrasque."
Oh,
Wouldn't that be awesome?
Game over.
Like, I could just like at will summon a Tarrasque and be like, and it's under my command. And Sean's just like, "No way,
Under
dude.
my command.
That is not going to happen." I'm
Well-
like, for $1,500 and I wreck your game. Is it worth it for charity?
totally
Yes.
worth it.
Totally worth it.
Sean.
Sean.
We do have wishes in the donation list as well. So
Get a
you
wish.
To wish.
have to be very
So-
careful. How you-
Guys.
Yeah, be creative. Give me ideas. I need them. And hopefully they go past Sean's discerning eye as a DM.
So, yes, for anyone that would like to put a suggestion out, just preface it in chat. We'll go through the chat log after the live stream and start collecting any ideas you have for Adam Lee's donation rewards as well. So,
Sweet.
yeah.
Otherwise, I'm just going to copy Emmy stuff.
Like, 2 Emmys.
I'm looking at your cheek.
So speaking of characters, and this is where I crudely try and steer it back towards Dragon Plus, but so be it. For the issue 16 of Dragon Plus, there's a few pieces of content that we wanted to introduce. Ethan Gilsdorf, the writer, has an article coming out about pop culture influences for your character.
I love that guy.
Yes, fantastic writer. He's
Great
going to be talking about pop culture for raising goals or stakes or motivations for your character. So I suppose one of the questions I had for Adam was, when you're creating either a character for yourself or an NPC in an encounter or an adventure, how do you go about generating those goals and stakes, whether you know it's going to be for any party going through or motivation for those villains and characters themselves?
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about that kind of stuff in context of the adventure. So the character goes into a world or into an encounter, depending on how much the NPC is going to affect sort of the story. So they've got this world around them, they've got this encounter around them, and I'm kind of looking at like, okay, this character is either going to aid the PCs in a certain way, or they're going to be an antagonist, or they're going to direct the PCs. So their motivations and their quirks and flaws and all that stuff is there for the DM to use as a tool. So I think first and foremost, I'm kind of thinking of it in that way. How does the character affect the playing of the game?
Mm-hmm.
And then the other part of it is how fun is that character to play as a DM? Because all the NPCs ultimately are going to be run by DMs.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like putting myself in my DM shoes and just being like, well, how much fun is this character to run? And what kind of chops can the DM pull out? Does the character got a funny voice, or do they have an interesting way of acting? So I'm thinking about all those kinds of factors as I'm generating sort of the background. But ultimately, the NPC comes down to how do they move the story forward, and how do they reveal to the PCs how are they useful in that way for the PCs going through the adventure.
We're looking through specifically some of the guides, and we could run through these again, but just to give you a sense of some of the characters that you might meet in the Tomb of Annihilation campaign. And again, the art gallery's up right now, so thank you everyone for donating.
This is all like Sean Wood from what I'm seeing. He did a brilliant job on this stuff, and he's really one of the things about Sean that when we're looking at like D&D artists, at least from my point of view, is like I'm always looking for character and expression, and Sean really is great at doing that. If you've ever seen his Decapus, holy smokes, so D&D. But yeah, when we were coming up with these ideas for the guides, a lot of them, all these guides have a backstory that you can get into, and you can find out about them and what motivates them and why are they here in Chult. They aren't just pretty faces. They all have their own little secrets, and they're all going to take you in a direction, whether that direction is towards fortune and glory or towards despair and being lost and surrounded by zombies. It's up to you to pick which one and which path you go on. So, yeah. But we had fun making these.
So there's two sets of NPCs in Tomb of Annihilation that I found compelling. The guides being one of them, and the merchant princes being another side of it. Yeah. So how did you go about, for the guides and the merchant princes, did you just have sort of an idea in mind about some of the beneficial motivations they would have versus some of the more selfish or outright evil motivations they might present to player groups?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think when we were coming up with the guides, it was sort of the idea that, some guides are going to be spot on.
Mm-hmm.
Some guides have their own agenda, whether it's good or bad, and some guys are just hopeless, and they're going to get you in trouble. And so that was a fun thing to play around with them. And the Merchant Princes evolved out of pretty sure it was Perkins who just was sort of living in the world for a while and felt like...
Figuratively.
One doesn't always know with Mr. Perkins if he has his own demiplane that goes to Chult. But
I love that idea now that in the back of his living room he does have a door.
Yeah,
it
he just opens his closet, goes through, and he and Milo walk into Chult, and they come back and no time has passed. And he is born on a leap year, so
you can do that.
Just saying.
That's a power.
Yeah, it's a power.
Yeah.
But I think the Merchant Princes arised out of that, where thinking about Port Nyanzaru is this economy, and it's alive and it's vibrant, and these people know that they're sitting on a lot of wealth and resources in Chult, and a lot of the mainlanders are coming in trying to get this stuff, and so they're like, well, wait a minute, we're going to be the gateway for that, and so they kind of run all the commerce, and they're really watching what's how the money is passing from hand to hand, and they're controlling things, and so you kind of always have the Merchant Princes watching your every move while you're in there, and you don't know, are we, they're kind of like bugging the room. Mm-hmm. And they're just great characters, and they're fun to play off of.
Now, do they have their own personal agendas? Do they tend to have agendas intertwined? Are they trying to do one thing because it not only advances them, but it's going to detract from a rival?
Oh, sure. Yeah, okay. Yeah. And as a DM looks at the story, I mean, we're giving you these basic playing pieces. You could actually run an entire campaign just with Important Nyanzaru, and just how these merchant princes battle for power, and is one going to rule them all, or is it going to be a fight to the death, or sort of like backstabbing and all that. You could go and do that forget about the tomb and all that. You go just with Important Nyanzaru and have a blast. So yeah, it really is to where the DM wants to. We're just kind of giving you these ideas and these characters, but feel free to develop them any way you want, because that's what it's about.
Nice. I think we have a bit more art. I'm going to throw out some numbers for Pelham just to showcase a bit more of the art that we had from Tomb of Annihilation. I think it was a couple weeks ago we had Sean Wood and Chris Perkins in to do a bit of a run-through of the art. So if we've got number one sketch and number one, we've got a look at some of the more adventurous activities within Port Nyanzaru, now that we're talking about this. So we wanted to showcase again. Folks watching seem to appreciate some of the concepting and the sketching that went on behind the scenes. So as the art comes in, sometimes, most often we'll have initial sketch to look at. There's feedback given to the various artists along the way. And then we end up with some great and glorious final pieces. This one in particular clearly mapped well from sketch to finish. There's quite a few that have varied throughout various iterations along the way. One of the other marketing pieces, I don't know that this actually appears in the book, but number 2 is one of the pieces meant to be evocative of Portnoy and Zaru.
Yeah, this was done really early on in the process when we were kind of coming up with Portnoy and Zaru, and we actually had the privilege to work with Victor Mori, who was a super talented artist, and he came in to do a concept push, and we said, hey, can you give us a visual of this street, and it's in this sort of jungle town, there's dinosaurs, and there's merchants, and he came back with this, and we were like, what? That is it. That is so it. Victor Mori, look up his stuff. He's super good. Yeah.
Cool.
And a nice fella and a great Magic player. Yeah, we at the time he was in the building, which was only 3 weeks, he actually challenged Aaron Forsyth to a Magic showdown because there was a league matches going on inside Wizards. And he took a game from Aaron, and Aaron actually had to be like, "Oh, I've got to think a bit first," because usually Aaron just slaughters people and he's just like, "Oh, whatever." But he was like, "All right," and then the ultimate, Aaron hatchet came down and crushed any dreams Victor had. But Victor was like, gave him a serious think. I think, yeah,
Contender.
Yeah, it was a contender.
Nice. So we kind of talked about Ethan Gilsdorf's upcoming article. It's about character motivations and goals and so on. I wanted to ask about goals for the NPCs in To Move Annihilation, but personally, when you guys are making your characters, for Extra Life, it's a bit of a curveball because you're soliciting details from donors, which is fantastic and kind of challenging in a way. But if you are concepting your own character, how do you tend to or prefer to go about that?
Oh, Emmy, what do you
have a character type you normally play?
No. Well,
no.
Yeah, well,
I like the small ones.
Yeah, Emmy's characters are great. Every character you've ever had has been like original and cool, but like
stinky.
What, dare I ask? Their name was Stinky, or they are Stinky?
No, sometimes they'll be a little. We were playing with Richard. Kate and I were playing with Richard. And
Richard Witters?
Richard Witters. We had a couple sessions just to try out, a couple ideas he was having, and I got to play a goblin. It was this stinky, terrible little goblin, and it was a hassle, to him, and we were causing all kinds of mischief, and I think maybe that's why the game's not really going on anymore. But it's always fun playing with Kate too, because she's got a very good heart, and
she's a paladin.
It always extends into her characters. So it's a lot of fun. But going back really quickly on the NPCs, that's kind of a fun challenge I think it's always so excellent to see how good DMs handle NPCs, especially when, you might write these characters like the guides or everything, to have this backstory and this direction that they want to push the game in. But, in the case with Richard and, Kate and everything, and we're kind of going through this market, and it's like, we want to talk to this one lady. She's just a shopkeeper. Yeah. Like, she's probably just in the background. Like, she has no backstory. But then we're like, she must know something. Like, so we talked to her. He's like, okay. No, we got to keep talking. What's that? What's she selling? She got fish? And, like, the fish.
Yes, I
the fish
that.
Was, like, we wanted to save the fish. I think it came back to life or something.
Yeah.
And then it told us a secret. I can't remember. But it's kind of amazing how much DMs kind of have to think on the spot and go, well, sure, this is about her. Maybe she becomes a very integral part of the story.
It is true. Yeah, you never know where the gold is going to be found. It could be found in the fish market. Like you and Kate, you actually took that fish and you went up to the top of this stone.
The rock.
And you had to climb up it, and then you talked to the crow.
Yes.
And I thought you gave him a fish or something like that.
I think we were going to, we saved the fish.
Oh,
maybe we were going to give
just
him
to feed
fish.
It to the crow?
But...
Oh.
Yeah, there was some stuff that happened, but then we got a secret about the crow, and it was bargaining, and
then your goblin turned into like a super goblin.
I was a super goblin.
Yeah.
Everyone obeyed me.
It was a spiritual moment.
I imagine part of the frustration, but also the supreme enjoyment of being a dungeon master are those moments where you realize your players want to do what?
Yeah.
And then you run with it, and you're like, that was awesome.
It is. It is really sort of a surfing kind of analogy. Is like, you know, the players are the wave, and the DM is on the surfboard, and you know the wave is going to do what it's going to do. And if you try to resist it, it'll eat your lunch. But if you just go with it, it leads to this amazing ride. You know, and I mean, Richard is one of those guys who can think very fast on his feet and can invent an entire backstory in like a second.
Right. Yeah.
And so he's really fun to play with, as a DM.
Well, we'll drag him on the live stream in
Yes.
near future days.
Yes, talk to him about
Showcase.
DMing. Just say, Richard, we're just going to do a whole section on DMing and your philosophy, and you will have an amazing show.
Yeah, good ideas.
He does.
So when you're creating either adventure content or character concepts or just for fun, again thinking back to Ethan's article, which touches on pop culture, and you know he looks at Indiana Jones as a great motivator, and Stranger Things as well. Smaller heroes in a way, but no less in equal peril as well. Are there current pop culture media that you guys are enjoying now that either influences you or just is catching your fancy?
You know, Guardians of the Galaxy always kind of is in that zone. Indiana Jones, of course. You know, when I think of D&D, I always think from levels 1 through maybe 5. I mean, that to me is sort of like the D&D vibe. Is like you're not the superhero. You're just kind of setting out, and you've got the hero's spirit, but you've got to find it. You know, so I think that's the fun of it.
And the treasure. You're kind of poor when you start. So no one respects you, and
if you got 2 coppers to rub together, you're like, I can buy that. You know that biscuit I always wanted.
Right.
You know?
But that's the fun part of it, though, that, you know, you start off in a town and, you know, no one knows who you are. No one, you know, they care less, and you go out and prove yourself. You do something right in the town, or, you know, and then you kind of start growing, and you start getting this fame, or, you know, this acknowledgement.
Yeah. I mean, it is that sort of like, as, you know, your character grows, you know, then you have this sense of sort of that heroic spirit coming into the game and the character, and you're like, oh, they can actually, you know, do some good, you know.
Maybe I can, you know, fight the giants, or maybe I can do this.
Yeah.
But it's very deep. It's life meaning.
That's right, yeah.
The hunger for a good biscuit is always a good motivator.
Oh, man. Let me tell you, the college days, I was first level in college, and oh my gosh. Yeah. If I could buy a pizza, that was like 5 gold pieces. You know?
Oh, so expensive.
Yeah. My +1 sword. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Pizza.
So I'm going to, let's see, pull up some additional art. One of the other features that will be coming out in the next issue of Dragon Plus, issue 16, end of October. We have, because it's the end of October, we would be remiss if we didn't include some sort of monster-ish theme as well, running for
Emmy's
for
favorite
stories.
things.
Yes.
Monsters.
Monsters are cool, always cool. So we do have a couple of monster content pieces from Beamdog's Planescape release.
Oh, cool.
They've got some of the creatures statted out. We're going to be restatting them out for 5th edition. And in addition, at the recent HasCon, speaking of Richard Witters, I believe he was running this seminar.
You know what you're
At
talking
HasCon.
about. Yeah.
So it was Richard Witters, and if I'm not mistaken, Chris Lindsay. They were running a Make a Monster session as well. Yeah. And the creation they came up with was Spider Shark. It's just good science that
it
there would
is.
be a spider shark.
So good. So good.
Perfect predator.
Yeah. Richard did a great job. I think he started off on a hammerhead tack, and then he was just like,
for the shark.
Yeah, I'm gonna, and then he went great white.
Okay.
And then everybody was like, yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so good.
So you can find that in the upcoming issue as well. It'll be Richard's sketch for the spider shark or shark spider.
Are we statting that thing up?
We are. That's the other side of it. Chris Lindsay is going to be fully statting that out as well.
Maybe we should get Sean to put it in the game.
Oh,
Adam,
there you go.
donation level.
Donation, please. Yes.
$40
How
spider
much
shark.
for a spider shark?
How much for-
For charity. Come on.
A spider shark companion for your character, or
Oh.
Oh, I would high five you if I didn't think I would like knock all the
'Cause
microphones over.
Air five it.
yeah. Because the question is it a spider that's proportionate to the size of a shark head?
Oh.
Or
it's
is
like
it
really
or
tiny.
Right? Is the spider body,
That's
and the
$5.
shark?
Yeah.
The other thing,
The shark size.
That's
20,
like
20, 40?
$40.
$40
Yeah.
real size?
We'll see if Sean will let us do that.
That's like
never
companion
know.
and amount.
Yeah. We'll have to have Lindsay stat both.
Oh my
I love,
god.
actually, I like the little
I know,
one.
the little one
That's
could have
the-
like babies, like little shark spider babies.
Shark
Does it lay
spider or
eggs?
spider shark? One of them is one,
Yeah.
and one of them is the other.
I love it. This
So-
is just great.
I'm sure there's a
Chat?
bear owl out there as well that has it swapped.
Bear
and
owl. It's only this big.
It's as big as an owl with a
Owl.
little bear head.
But in the meantime, we do have some more of the monster sketches and art from Tomb of Annihilation. I know you've probably seen the art, but some of the sketches that went behind it.
Yeah.
We have number 4, 5, 6, and 7. So who are we looking at here?
Bag of nails. And he's as tough as nails. Yeah, you meet this guy, and yeah, you better have your stuff on straight. He's a hard hitting customer.
So without spoiling too much, I know he's a tabaxi. I know
Yep.
he's a bit deep in the jungle.
Yeah, he's in the Forbidden City.
Okay.
So you gotta go a ways to get to this fella.
Was there, and this is me being ignorant here of the tabaxi lore, is that just common naming structure for the tabaxi, is to have that flask of wine,
Yeah.
river mist?
Yeah, and I think I don't know if that was something that had gone back in the lore, or if that's something that Perkins felt that was like, hey, let's come up with some kind of interesting way. It might have been CERN, it might have been in on that. But yeah, talk to those guys. I'm sure one of them knows the true origin of the tabaxi naming convention.
You know how it's every dog thinks it's a wolf kind of mentality?
99%.
I think every cat sees itself as
Tabaxi.
as bag of nails, as
Oh yeah,
tabaxi.
yeah. He is no jokes. Yeah.
And we've got number 5. This is concepting for one of our Yuanti.
Yeah, that's
I like that one.
Fenthaza, and she is really bad news. Yeah, she's a Malison, a Yuanti Malison, and yeah, you meet her, and well, things could go good, but probably not.
Yuanti in general don't seem like the easiest people to,
I mean,
to
you make a deal
deal
with her, and there's yeah, it's possible. It all depends on how the chips have fallen by the time you get to her. She's well into the jungle, so
Fenthaza.
yeah, she's tough.
And her outfit is fantastic.
It
That's
is.
my
It's
dad
so
joke
cool.
for the
It's good.
week, but
Tell him laughed.
yeah.
She's standing above the subway grate. And it's just,
Now, number 6, he's one of my favorite guys. I know this is, he was renamed in concepting, but
Yeah.
this is
I think he's still Chief Yorb.
Yorb. Yep.
Yorb,
Yorb.
and he's a grung, and he's a golden grung.
He's
Yes, so
fancy.
he's very fancy,
Super fancy.
and he's got fancy feather headdress.
So we talked about this in our very first Dragon Plus live stream, correct? He is the chief of Dun Grung Lung.
No, he's actually a chief that's out in the near the Lost City.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
Chief Grok.
Oh, Chief Grok, yes.
is the Dun Grung Lung one.
That's
he's-
who I'm mistaking him
He's
for.
his own kind of crazy.
Yes.
This guy is crazy in another way.
I was going to
looks-
say, too competent looking to be Chief Grok.
Yeah, that's true. Grok, man, holy smokes. But this guy, yeah, he likes to party. And I don't know what he's drinking there.
But I will just make a quick mention. Dun Grung Lung, we are entering that episode now in Force Grey.
I'm so tuning in.
On Monday, we did where they've met Grok. They know the ritual that he expects of them.
Gosh.
And now they have to pull it off. So for folks wondering what's happening in Dun Grung Lung, tune in to Force Grey on Mondays. So one of my favorite encounters ever in a D&D campaign is Dun Grung Lung that Adam Lee created.
Hey, that's high praise indeed. Wow.
And then we've got one more. We've got number 7 here. And this guy I just thought was super cool to showcase.
Yeah.
Part of the danger of Tomb of Annihilation, it's not just your typical monster, your gorillon. They have to be zombie versions as well.
Yeah. I don't know who did this, but whoever did it was,
So there's another suggested donation for Adam's character. If you want a zombie version of Adam's character, maybe there's a reward level that we could work into it.
Sky's the limit. Yeah, as long as Sean passes it, we're zombie. Yeah, sure, it can happen. Yeah.
Oh no, I'm sorry, I lied. We've got a couple more sketches and final pieces just to kind of showcase a bit more of the Tomb of Annihilation and a bit of the atmosphere. Now that as long as we're talking monsters and so on, we've got number 9 as well. This is
they're hard.
This is one of our 4-armed gargoyles.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So this is the callback from the original Tomb of Horrors, and we definitely knew that we needed to put in the iconics, the Juggernaut and the big 4-armed gargoyles. And there it is, ready to smack you down. Make your life difficult.
So again, just some of the monsters from Tomb of Annihilation. This is my crudely segueing from the Dragon Plus 16 issue content. We'll have some creatures from Planescape and from HasCon as well. So we wanted to showcase some of the art that we did have from Tomb of Annihilation in advance. Now, we also have, speaking of monsters and speaking of monster art, we've got another book coming out in November, Xanathar's Guide to Everything. So Xanathar has appeared in various products, incarnations in the past, but for folks who might not be aware of who our cover star is, how would you introduce Xanathar?
Oh, Xanathar. This beholder, he's in a long line of beholders. There isn't like a name like Bob or Jack or something like that. Xanathar is a title. So
Bob Beholder is not
and Jack's the beholder. Yeah.
Strike fear into the heart.
Strike, yeah. So the Xanathar, he's claimed this title, or it has claimed this title. I don't think Xanathar is really, or he or she. No. So it's claimed this title when it off of the previous Xanathar. Beholders are not don't get along very well, so they attack each other, and they're very paranoid. So once the Xanathar now has this title, it's going to hold it with all the paranoia power it can, and it lives under Waterdeep in a place called Skullport and wanders around. Laryl Silverhand is the Open Lord of Waterdeep at the time, and she knows about the Xanathar, but they have kind of established a deal. Like, she's like, you do your dealings down there and stay out of my business and don't cause any trouble, and you can kind of run Skullport however you see fit. That is sort of the overview. I'm sure Cernet can go way more in depth than I'm going here. But right now, the Xanathar is pretty much a crime boss and has a bunch of flunkies. And in the Xanathar's world, he's very paranoid, doesn't have a lot of friends. However, the one friend he does have is his pet fish. And that fish he loves with his heart, maybe, wherever that is. I don't know if the Xanathar has a warm, fuzzy
his whole being.
Yeah.
Everything he has. He loves it.
He loves that fish. And and that is the relationship. That is what you see on the cover.
I was opening a document in the background. One of the elements that goes into the art is the art order, which are the written instructions to the artist about what we'd be looking for in a given piece. And I was just looking at the one for the Xanathar's cover, and there's just as much written about how to present the goldfish as there is, almost more for the Xanathar.
Yeah.
For the goldfish, it's a giant goldfish. It says it's almost 3 feet long, so like a giant koi, I guess, in a large glass fishbowl. He's got a bit of a character, it says. We're looking for a bit of a character, not just a bottom-feeding sucker face. I see. I didn't realize what this was. The fishbowl is capped by a magically warded lid. So the Xanathar doesn't just love his goldfish; he protects his goldfish as well.
Yeah. Every eyeball is on that fish.
And for the Xanathar itself, I guess some of the secrets in the art cover. The Xanathar is looking from behind the fishbowl. Its eye stalks look at both the fish and some of the papers on his desk. Now, it says it's as if the Xanathar is proudly showing these special papers to his favorite friend at story time. But I've heard what those papers actually say.
Yes. That was a little idea that I threw in there. So, yes, look at with a little bit of scrutiny, and maybe something will be revealed.
All right, so one of the secrets to unlock about the cover for Xanathar's
there's all kinds of little Easter eggs in there. Yeah. There's some fun stuff.
So, and again, in the theme of this issue is crude segues. So I wanted to circle back to some of Emmy's awesome work. So for folks, again, thank you for everyone watching and viewing our live streams, and thank you so much for everyone subscribing to our live streams as part of our subscription. You do have access to emotes that in many cases were created by Emmy as well. Oh, Pelham's got emotes and subscriber badges.
I think my favorite's the Tito emote.
Yeah.
That can convey such a wide range of emotes.
It was an expressive face. We took some pictures for bios for the podcast page. Yeah. And it's the photographer is like, okay, look, do this, do that.
Blue steel.
Now, give me the goofy one. And that was one of the goofy ones. So,
so good.
But I also wanted to call out Emmys Beholder as well.
Oh, thank
right
you.
there on the top left.
I love the TPK. That is so good.
Yeah, you needed those.
This has not been revealed yet, but I know because I've seen them, Emmy is working on another round of Twitch emotes. So for our subscribers, be sure to look for another round of emotes that will be dropping shortly.
I want a t-shirt with that TPK on it.
I'll make you one.
I love it.
Oh,
I totally want it.
I know.
Oh,
I totally want that t-shirt.
it's like you're building in my segues.
Oh my
say, we're getting
gosh.
better. Yeah.
We're NPCs. We're directing.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Do we have the shot of the Extra Life t-shirts as well that we can put up? Oh, okay. Based on the Extra Life logos for D&D and Magic, Emmy is also working with a vendor for folks that are interested in purchasing Extra Life t-shirt. That's the Magic version. The D&D version as well. There is a look for news as far as Extra Life in regards to how you might purchase your own t-shirt for Extra Life and help support the cause as well. So again, for folks interested in getting involved, go to the homepage of the Dungeons & Dragons website. We'll have a link to our Extra Life D&D page, and you'll have links there to all of the games that we're running and that everyone's running, all of our many participants. And thank you again for participating in Extra Life.
For the shirts, I think we're going to try to get them, start the selling either early November or in November, so we can kind of...
So you will probably see...
October. Early October. Mid-October.
Mid-October.
Right.
Okay.
Because our event's beginning of November. November 3rd and 4th.
November 3rd and 4th is the event, so the shirts will be available beforehand.
Yes, to start kind of ordering it. And then once the event's done, a little bit after that, it'll close. The fundraising will close, and then they'll fulfill the orders and get them out to everybody.
Super cool.
Yay.
So yeah, we'll provide some links for those as well. So before we go, I did want to just call out some of our live stream scheduling that's taking place. I know this will be touched on more in D&D news coming up, but we are getting into our next season of D&D live streams. Maze Arcana will be returning, but they will be moving soon from 7 p.m. Pacific, all times Pacific, to 6 p.m. Pacific. High Rollers Uncharted Territory will be returning as well, but to a new time, Wednesdays, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. It's a bit early, but because they're coming from the UK side of things, it's a bit more conducive to UK audience times. Speaking of Grung, we have a game DM'd by Chris Lindsay, One Grung Above, debuting 10/4 Wednesdays. And on Thursdays, the following day, debuting 10/5, we have Lauren Urban's game with members of Rooster Teeth as well.
Oh my gosh, so good.
So many games, yes.
So many games.
We have Encounter Roleplay. We'll be doing a Learn by Play on Saturdays, 3 to 6 p.m., leading into Trump SC's Heroes Graveyard. Girls Guts Glory returning 10/7. So for folks wondering if Girls Guts Glory is coming back, they are. And as opposed to the 15-minute encapsulated episodes we've been showing with conversation on either side, this will be more of a traditional live stream of the actual gameplay.
So good.
And finally, Dragon Friends, they wrapped Season 1. They will be returning for Season 2, but a bit later in the year. So look for them coming back. Once again, you've suffered through another hour with me.
Oh my God, Bart. That was terrible. I don't know how I did it.
But thank you, as always, to my guests, Emmy Tanji and Adam Lee. I supremely appreciate you coming on, helping to talk through what's going on with the brand and to help showcase your work as well, which is phenomenal stuff, so that folks can see what's happening here.
Thanks, man.
To all our viewers, thanks for watching the Dragon Plus live stream. You can download the current issue of Dragon Plus on iOS or Android online at dragonmag.com. That's issue 15. The board game issue is out now, and issue 16, our storyteller monster issue, will be out very near the end of October. The December issue, because we want to make sure that we get it out before the end of the year holidays and when folks start heading out of town, will be a bit earlier in the month of December. But again, you can find all of that out at dragonmag.com as well. So on behalf of myself and Pelham from Behind the Controls, thank you,
Pelham,
for putting up the graphics as always and running the stream. Thank you all for watching Dragon Plus.
thank you.
Thanks.